And welcome back, everybody. Welcome, in particular, in this case, welcome to this flight, which, as you know, is strictly for you patrons, and we appreciate your support. This next flight that we're going to be doing is from Port Hardy in British Columbia. That is where we arrived in the last episode from Friday Harbor in Washington State. We flew up here in the Grumman Albatross, but the amount of fuel required, which is what somebody wanted to continue flying from here to Prince Rupert in British Columbia, and as long as the ceiling isn't too low, it should be a beautiful flight. Wanted to fly the Albatross again, but I tested it out, and the uh, the overall handling of the airplane with more than about 75% fuel, that aircraft is very, very unstable. That's not to say that the real Albatross is unstable. More likely, not more likely, it is. It is an issue that the people at Microsoft need to work on. But needless to say, that would have been a very, very fun flight to do in the Albatross again, because this is a unique piece of aviation history with regard to amphibious aircraft. But we're back to the Dornier Seastar, which is fine with me. I already pre-fly the airplane outside as well as inside, and so we can just get right down to it and get down to engine start. So let's hop in and get the engines up and running along with the generators and the environmental control system, and then we'll begin to taxi out. As you can see by the windsock in the distance there, just above the tail of the airplane, it's a windy day, which makes for a challenging takeoff. And this aircraft is stable enough that we're going to be doing it. We're going to be doing a water takeoff. All right, because taking off on the runway, well, that's one thing, but doing a crosswind water takeoff, that is adds more challenge and makes the flight all the more unique. So let's get inside and let's get this thing in the air. As you can see, I've already got the flight plan typed in onto Prince Rupert. And flight time today, it's approximately 244 nautical miles, and we'll be trying our best to fly just below the cloud line, below the ceiling, that is. Right now, let's see, current METAR is partly cloudy, 21,000 feet, according to FlightAware. I would disagree with that if I had to guess. It looks like the ceiling is about, I'd say about maybe 5,000 feet, maybe 4. But it's certainly not 21,000, not even close. So we're going to fly nice and low. And the other reason we're doing that is because I made you a promise. Unlike the people that get to watch these things on YouTube for free on those videos that I make, which I enjoy doing, as you can see, I didn't top off the fuel tanks, but I put in about, I guess you could say 2,856 pounds is about, 90 to about between 90 and 93% capacity. So that's the other reason we're going to be flying at initially 5,000 feet. And even though the service ceiling of this aircraft is 14,000, actually it's I believe it's 14,800 is the average service ceiling. But anyway, that is that. We'll get into more how this airplane works when we get in the air. So let's get the engines up and going. And the first thing we want to do, we just batteries are on, generators are off because the engines are not running yet. And engine mode selectors are set to off, which is fine. Engine bleeds are off, and therefore the ECS environmental control system is off. Okay, and everything on the ice protection is off, and the temperature and the fans and the recirculation that all has to remain off until we get the engines up and running. Okay. So let's look through the checklist, shall we? Cockpit prep. We've done those. Yep, I did all those. Yep, good, 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 good. Uh-huh. I did look at all. Yep, this is all good to go. Everything is off, of course. This is the initial. Everything. Lamp test. Well, things with the one issue that I do have to say is to always remember that if you want to start this aircraft by the book, which is what we're doing here, cut off. Yes. Yep. Let's move those into the max position. There we go. You don't want to start the aircraft with fully feathered unless you leave at minimum RPM. There's a big difference between that and that, so we'll leave it at a minimum RPM right about there. The as I was saying, the testing and the words like it right up here. Like the fire test and things of that nature, all auto fire test, emergency battery lamp test, they don't work. I've trust me, tried it many, many times. Even if I zoom way out here, let's see if anything lights up. Lamp test, no. Fire test, no, nothing. We should be getting all kinds of bells and whistles when we hit the fire test and the stall warning. We should be getting those. So that's why we don't do any of those tests on this aircraft because they do not work. Conditioners actually just they're set to cut off flaps and set for takeoff. That is getting just a little ahead of ourselves with regard to this checklist. I suggest that they fix that because you can set flaps until because you don't want to set flaps running on battery power alone, which is what we're doing. Not gonna work. Pitch trim, we'll set those things after we get everything up and running. Aileron trim, everything is 0 on trim. We did that. Publication diagram. That FMS, it is set. V speeds, they already determined. Yes, they are. 93 for V1, 92 V1. I said that backwards, didn't I? V1 is going to be 92. VR rotate is going to be 93. V2 is going to be 103. And everything with regard to flaps will be up. We won't have to worry about raising the landing gear because, again, this is going to be a water takeoff. All right. Checklist is complete there. Before engine start, let's go through it real fast here. MSFS recording, it is on, but it just isn't simulated. Parking brake, it is set. Hydraulic emergency pressure check, 3,000 psi. And we would go into our second thought. Let me go into that with you when we get into the air. We'll go through the various various things to look at when we get up there. Nav and beacon lights are on. I just put them on. Yes, yes, they're both on. And checklist is complete with that. Engine start. Rear doors closed. Well, it should have been. Okay, condition levers at the low idle. No, no. There we go. Low idle. Hey, this is where we begin to turn on the pressure pumps and all that. We'll do engine number 1 first. It's like on second thought, let's do engine number 2. Engine 2 comes up. There's the main pump. This is the standby pump. Yeah, it needs to be on. Now on the mode control switch, kind of like an Airbus, but not quite as automated. And start. All right. Nothing. Oh, there we go. That's odd. It took a while for anything to happen. And there we have it. Start cut out. So now we turn on our generator number 2. Now we're no longer getting power from draining the power of the battery. Move the mode selector back to run. Engine number 1 on. The main fuel pump on. Standby pump on. Mode control switch to continuous ignition, which means all switches for start. And start. Now that began rotation almost immediately. Looking good. Waiting for the engine start to engine start light. I should say engine start button to go off. There we go. Set this back to run. And now we can introduce generator 1. Alright. And we can also turn on the bleeds. So get some air moving in here. And the blower on auto, and the recirculation switch is on. And if the clouds cooperate, we may hop up to 10,000 feet. Oh, I'm sorry. We are going to disregard what I just said then. By the way, as some of you might have been wondering, where is on the checklist before engine start, I want you to look at the hydraulic pressure. Hydraulic pressure is right here. So right now it's at 15 psi. The hydraulic pressure, the emergency pressure, that is 3,130 psi. All right. And let's go through. Oh, we did all of this. Oil pressure check. Yep. Start lights are off. Prop lever. Now we go to maximum RPM, and that's done down here. So it's not the condition levers. It's our prop levers. So we just move that up to maximum RPM. You can see those numbers moving up just a little bit. Alright, all doors are closed at this track. Voltage ammeter, 24.3 volts, both sides. 14 amps coming out of both battery amps. Voltage 28 to 8.5 volts and 32A. Okay. Fuel pressure, low indication check on. Well, it isn't because what it forces you to do until you get into the air, it forces you to leave the standby pumps and in the on position. Condition lever low idle. They already are. Yeah, we've done this already for engine number 2. Alright, after engine start, power is not required. It was never there. CVR test doesn't work. Fuel pump check. They are all on. Engine 1 and 2 are bleed. Yep, ECS is on. 1, 2, inertial separator. Those go on, as we don't want any foreign object debris coming in. Pitot heat. We always turn on that pitot heat. Because even though it's currently, what is our temp here, 13? Yeah, 13 C. It's very cold as we climb pretty quickly, and you want that to be on. Easiest lower set to auto altimeter setting crash check avionics set. I'll have fly instrument check. Yeah, it takes a while for the inertial separators to move into place. That's why they just now came on. Hydraulic pump is on auto, which is right there. It's interesting. The hydraulic pump is set to auto whenever you walk into this aircraft when it's cold and dark, so that is actually a little issue that should be addressed by Microsoft. Nose wheel is on and dark, meaning if there's nothing there, see how it's dark, that's what they're getting at. That means that it's on. Alright, checklist is complete. Taxi checklist. Let's go ahead and prop levers feather. Okay. Taxi lights. Even though we're not flying on with ATC such as VATSIM, even though I do have 1 or 2 videos that teach you how that works, I'll be doing a more in-depth video on that soon. So transponder. And remember, the transponder on this aircraft is just a little hairy. Here's what we'll do. We're going to set this up for, see, that needs to remain 0. I need the bigger one. Because we want to go to 1200. We're going to go into detail with that. Make sure transponder is on. 1, 2, this is a VFR, which is remember VFR, visual flight rules. Yeah, when you're doing that, the code transponder is always going to be 1200. Transponder selection 1 or 2. We'll use the one on my side, which is transponder 1. ADSB out is set to on. And traffic. We can go to altimeter, we can go to TARA, which is traffic above, and this is actually the ultimate way to do it. This just means you're reporting altimeter and standby. This tells you traffic awareness and resolution. In other words, pull up, things of that nature. That's what it gives you when you have TARA turned on. Okay. Vertical range. Normal. We'll leave that on. TKS test. I don't think it works. Did not think so. And back to the transponder, basic transponder setting. And we can exit that by hitting the detail button. Okay. If they wanted us to ident after giving us a new squawk code in the air, we would simply hit ident. And you see next to ground, the IDT comes up in yellow, and then it'll go out in a few seconds. At least it should. It'll eventually go out. Okay. Brakes, we'll be checking that momentarily. Prop levers, feather, we'll be doing that on the way out. Because you gotta have a little more thrust to move those levers from max to min, and min back to max. Alright. Again, since we're passing over to the water, we'll be doing a couple things differently. Electrical, yes, that is all good to go. Make sure our auto feather is armed. Flaps and trim, rechecked. Cabin clear, line up, strobe and landing lights. We'll be doing that once we get out there. Nose wheel high, off dark. Which is it dark? Yes, it is. Okay, prop levers. Max RPM, that'll be for that. So we'll just leave that here, and we'll complete this once we get into the water and all lined up. Okay? Alright. Let's taxi out here. Let's go to where we are, if it'll let me do it. Huh. I guess I gotta exit this for it to work, which is unfortunate, but that's the way it works. We want to go over here. Where are we here? It's showing that there isn't. It's almost as if it's showing that the tide is out. That's interesting. The water line should come all the way up to where the grass is. So. Anyway, we'll leave this on for now. As a reference, and it looked like it was trying to push some buttons over on the FO side. And at the moment I can't get over there, but we're fine. Alright. Okay, parking brake is off. And we're already beginning to roll. That does need to be addressed. Flaps out to 20. Little pump. There we go. Make sure we got enough room to turn. Be sure we do. Yeah. Yeah, nice little 172. Handsome looking little airplane. Great to learn how to fly them. I did. Way back in the day. Alright. Once we get on the taxiway, we'll do our minimum maximum test with regard to the prop controls. That's the only way to see if they function. At idle with this particular aircraft, they do not show you any change. Alright, so we're going to bring it down to minimum. As you can see, the engine controls the engine instrumentation over here on the IKS on the left side of the PFD. It doesn't show any change whatsoever. So now the only reason that's changing is because I just idled the throttles completely. Alright, where do we go? Turn. Yeah, we'll take the active real quick and then hang a left on that drive and take us over to where we can hop in the water, get wet. And just before we do that, I'll turn on the C mode as well as the bow thruster, so we can. Yep, this is what we want. Let's go ahead and turn on the strobes and landing lights. Let's look here. I can try and remember if this is the taxi lane I gotta go down, or is the next one? It's one thing that this doesn't help with. The next one. Okay, got it. Let's quickly talk about the inertial separators. The reason we turn those on for a taxi takeoff as well as landing, it deflects. Well, think of it as flaps that articulate down to a specific position inside the engine inlets, so you don't get things such as, in this case, a lot of water splashing up. If that were to happen, a lot of water splashing up into those intakes, it would limit the amount of water coming into those intakes, because if you have a lot of water coming in to the engine intakes, that's obviously very, very bad if you're taking off from a runway and there's a lot of junk, although in the industry we call it FOD, foreign object debris. It would ingest that, and it can be very, very harmful to the engine. In this case, engines. So here we go. This is where we jump into the water. Let's go ahead and just before we do, the ramp is right over here to our left, I do believe. Let's see if that is the case here. I think we're not moving any. Anyway, sometimes you gotta hit the brakes real quick to get them to unlock. Let's see here if I can see where we're going here. Is that where we need to go in? Is that the ramp or not? No, not with those boulders there. We'll just go in right here. Drive through the trees real quick. Before we do, C mode is on. Oh, that's interesting. I guess it'll turn on when we get in there. Water thruster, definitely C mode. That's interesting. I believe C mode will not turn on until we get the landing gear up. So, let's hop in. Let's check out for the outdoors. There we go. We are now officially feet wet. And now we're in the water. Alright, let's get the landing gear up here. Obviously that wind is going to make this, it's going to make all of this a little rough on takeoff, but that's alright. We'll do our very, very best. Oh, it's really, really rolling out here, isn't it? Did the parking brake come on? Of course it did. Alright. we got the engines are idling, so we really should not be moving much. Let's see, are we moving? Oh boy, we're really moving here. C mode goes. It does C mode. Good. All right, prop condition levers all the way up, and that's all check. Gas is on, and flight director armed. Here we go, everybody. Let's see how much of a challenge it is to take off with waves like this. Okay, here we go. And as always with this airplane, you can disregard the Gen 1 and the Gen 2 voltage high. You can disregard that. Wow, that is we are skipping on the waves, aren't we? That's what I thought. It's not really, for some odd reason, the view from the cockpit shows a much different picture. Why that is, I don't know. Because the moment I switched to the outside view, the airplane was not skipping like a rock. So, okay, flaps up. And we can come back on the throttle just a little bit. Get those inner separators out of the way. And let's concentrate on a little bit of flying before we go through the next checklist. Look at that view. Look at that. Absolutely gorgeous. Look at that. Wow. Let's see what it looks like from the outside. Yep. That is why we wanted to do this adventure on the way up to Alaska on the Intercoastal Waterway. I just knew we would have some unbelievable scenery. Absolutely, very, very impressed. Very impressed. Yep. All right. Let's get that course needle lined up with our path, and then we will turn on the autopilot. There we go. Looking good. Yaw damper on. Autopilot is on. And we need to go nose up. Vertical speed. And nose up. We might be able to get away with 1,200 feet per minute. Let's see if we can get away with that. I've already brought the engines back a little bit. After I got checklist gear. Oh, it was up all right. Water takeoff. Flaps, they are up. Power levers. Climb power. Hey, this is set. Auto feather off. And we'll turn off the landing lights and taxi lights upon passing flight level 100, which is 10,000 feet. Which is going to be our, looks like with the way the weather's looking, we're going to be able to get some amazing views once we get up to 10,000. So we'll wait on that, and then we will just look here for a second here. Okay, 1,200 feet. We're losing a little bit of speed on that. Once we get to 5,000, we will go to. We'll switch over to 1,000 a minute. All right now. Yeah, looking good. Yeah, no, I just just a few hours before doing this, beginning this episode, let me take the C mode off. Sorry about that. In the water thruster system, I tested out the Grumman Albatross, and with a full load of fuel, and the aircraft was just as I said back at the airport. The aircraft was just very, very unstable, incredibly unstable. They couldn't hold nose up, nose down. It would climb 4,000 feet a minute. Then I had to manually bring it back down, and the trim wouldn't work either. So I did some reading about that issue online, and it's not just me. It is a known issue. So hopefully they get that fixed. That's interesting. Auto Feather is not armed, but yet it says that it's off, but that's armed. Interesting. I think we're making a pretty good speed, to be honest. There's the let's see if we can get this to zoom out, lock onto the airplane, zoom out. Kind of see where we're going. I do not have the flight plan plugged into this. Let me do that for you real quick. That's CYZT. There it is. I remember my search from the test flight in the CYPR. CYPR. Prince Rupert. There we go. Now you can see where we are. Alright, back to looking at the views. Climbing very, very nicely. Looks like things are breaking up. And there is the there is the Pacific Ocean. Look at that. Very, very good. Looks like we'll be breaking out of this stuff here momentarily. And we should be in the clear as soon as we pass this line of clouds directly in front of us. And then we'll be able to bring the power setting back to a cruise setting, and we'll be looking at two things. We'll be looking at engine performance, and we'll also be looking at our actual speed. And there we go. Should be leveling off. Very good. Yeah, again, this is something that the Grumman Albatross simply would not do. Alright, let's bring those engines back now. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to bring the prop levers back so we don't lose any torque. And that is the key with aircraft like this. Okay, we are going to be flying through visible moisture, and it is below freezing up here at 10,000. It is negative 1 degree Celsius, so if we have to, the ice protection system is right here. So I'm turn on the windshield heat just in case. Alright, and the FMS wants us to compare fuel quantity. They're both at 1,000. They're just within one pound of being off here. Hopefully this batch of cloud here will be non-existent as soon as we get through it, and it'll be clear skies all the way. Okay, let's bring those engines back just a little bit. Now what I'm doing is I'm bringing back the actual engines here. I wanted to see what the prop levers would do. Yeah, and look at that. Clearing up outside very nicely. Very, very nicely this evening. Looking very, very good. With regard to the windshield heat, I'm going to leave that on. In my opinion, if you're flying in below below freezing temperatures, it should be on anyway. 10,000 feet. Let's go ahead and turn off those taxi and landing lights. No longer required. And we can check that off. Checks is complete. The next checklist is going to be our fresh checklist. And that is a ways away. Yeah, let's look at the our destination weather, which is Port Rupert, if I got that right. I think I did. Let me double check my notes here. Prince about that, Rupert, wherever you may be. Prince Rupert in British Columbia. Let's see what their weather is all about. And just in case you missed it, the way I did that, I did the following. I clicked on the airport itself, and then you get this pop-up menu, and I'm going to click on Weather Info. Let's zoom in so we can read it together. Here we go. Conditions observed as of 0300 Zulu on the 12th of June 2025. Winds 280, variable 260 to 230 at 8 knots. Present weather. It's kind of interesting how they break it down for you. The METAR is at the bottom. But let's just read through it. I kind of like the way they break it down. And just a second, it looks like we can fly a little faster than this. Let's up the engines just a tiny bit to see if we can get a little more speed out of this. Just a little more. A little more. Alright. Present weather, no significant weather. Sky condition, visibility to 9 statute miles, no significant cloud, okay. Temperature is 52 Fahrenheit, 11 Celsius, 52 Fahrenheit. That's awfully beautiful weather to me, at least. Altimeter as of 0300 Zulu 3008. And good. Alright, we know what the weather is. Having never been there myself, if we want to do a water landing, suggest we do a low pass over the airport, just get a visual of what everything looks like, and do a really good orbit over that, not just the airport itself, but the surroundings, to see where everything is, seeing what the lay of the land is, so to speak. And then we'll take the wind component into serious consideration, obviously, because that ultimately determines what we do. And especially but with winds being less than 10 knots, here in the U.S., the FAA will tell you that as long as winds are below 10 knots, winds can be considered to be variable, and that's exactly what it says right here, 280, 260 variable. So that is how we're going to treat it for now anyway. We'll be checking on that later in the flight. Alright, the one thing I find interesting is that the checklist on the tablet here is somewhat different than the checklist that is in the actual aircraft right here. One thing that I want you to do after you reach your, it's in the after takeoff checklist, that once you turn the standby fuel pumps to auto, something tells me it's not going to like that, but let's do it anyway to see what happens. It doesn't like going to auto, there we go. Something tells me it isn't going to like that. Standby fuel pumps are off. Theoretically, is that a good thing? If something were to happen to the main pumps, you would want those standby pumps to kick in immediately. And being an auto, hopefully they would do so. Alright. Already down to only 189 nautical miles left. So, another reason to fly this airplane more. It just, as an amphibious aircraft, it's just extremely, I'll use the word fast. It just is. It's very, very slick. And Dornier, they knew what they were doing when they made it. Very, very obvious. Alright, let's look at let's increase the range on our map. And again, the way we do that is we take the mouse, we put it, if you look at the big white circle that surrounds the aircraft, on the left there's a number. Currently that number is 20. We're going to take that number and we're just going to hold it and move the mouse up. As I move it up with the button held down, we zoom out. So there we are, and we can click on those various white little dots. Sometimes you can do it, sometimes you can't. Those are airports. Oh wow, why did that happen? All of our instrumentation went away for a second there. Let's look at our battery. Generators are both running. Emergency backup is on. Standby. Generator. Boy, that is very, very bizarre. Huh. Oh, this isn't good. It's saying we have lost engine power in both engines. Okay, well, let's see what we can do. Okay, auto feather is armed. Let's see if we can get, let's go back here, max RPM, that's all set. Start engine 1. Huh. Something really, really big happened. Trying to get that engine number 1 under, it looks like we got engine 1 up and running here. Let's see if we can get it to deliver us power here. And it is. Okay, what does the aft engine look like? Everything looks just fine to me. Let's get back on course. Yeah, I know it doesn't like it that the autopilot kicked off. I've never had that happen in this aircraft before. I'll say one thing, hand flying it is a breeze when this kind of thing happens, even though it's never happened to me before. Just trim it out a little bit to get back on course. That was very, very surprising. Alright, engine is idling. Let's see if we can get the autopilot back on. Even though we do need to climb gently, then I'll take care of the engine number 2 after that happens. See if we can at least get it back on track here. Vertical speed, nose up, very, very slowly. Always for the aircraft to be straight and level before we start off engine number 2. Now the one thing that is very, very helpful, as you can see, I didn't have to really fight with asymmetrical thrust. That is the one massive benefit of flying a twin-engine aircraft with centerline thrust. My grandpa had a Cessna Skymaster, so we know all about the benefits of centerline thrust. That was way back in the 1970s. Alright, we're going to go ahead and light off engine number 2. Hopefully it works. Continuous ignition, auto feather arm, and here we go. Watching the engine instruments here on the left side of the PFD. There's a light off right there. And it's looking good. Let's slowly bring it up. Let's bring it up to right there, minimum flight. Let's see what the airplane wants to do at that, with that kind of a power setting. Let's raise it up a little more. Looks like it's responding very, very well to the restart. Maybe it is those fuel pumps that need to be in the on position all the time. If that is the case, then one of the checklists is wrong. Alright, let's bring it up a little more. A little more. It's responding very, very well. And now I can use my throttle here to resync it. There we go. Let's bump it up to where it was. I believe the torque was at 72%, if I'm not mistaken. Alright, let's push them up a little more. Again, as to what happened, I do not know. Have no idea. Why the electrical failure and then the engine failure, I don't know. Because we did not receive any kind of a warning in advance. Don't know. Let's see how we're gonna level off on speed. As long as we're at 180 or less, I'm a happy camper. Alright. Let's look at our systems here. Okay, batteries 25.7 volts. Amps 3. Generator volt 20.5. Generator amps 22 amps. Everything looks fine with me. a little chilly inside. It's a little chilly in here. 11 degrees back there for the passengers. Let's warm this thing up a little bit. Well, looks like we can say that the crisis. Oh, we just got a spike on the airspeed. Okay, let's log the power back a little bit. I believe 72% on the torque is the magic number. Alright. I'll say one thing. This aircraft handles turbulence very, very well. Sync up our heading by with our current heading. Alright, let's look now. Like I said, I believe we could say crisis averted. So, yeah. Alright, let's go back out there and take in the view. It's a bumpy evening. When I was test flying the Albatross in this area, not only did the autopilot on the Albatross not function with regard to altitude hold, but it just didn't want to handle anything. So. Beautiful sight. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Yeah, look at the view off to the northeast there, just with the snow-capped mountains. Gorgeous. Very, very gorgeous. Beautiful view. Talk about the Pacific Ocean. There it is. One nice thing about this aircraft, had both engines have we not been able to get them back up and running again. Landing in the water would not be a big deal, as long as the seas are not above a sea state 1, let alone sea state 2. Alright, back on the flight deck. That is some really, really, really amazing scenery to take in. How are we doing on the fuel here? Very good. That's interesting. It's already suggesting runway 13. Huh, really? Let's see if they've updated the weather. Still the same. No, they have not updated. That's fine. As I said before, what we'll do is we'll drop in. We'll do one nice big uh, orbit around the airport and the overall area around the airport. We'd like to do a water landing because in this aircraft a water landing is easy. When it gets into landing the albatross or the goose, the Grumman goose, those are a little trickier to have a nice smooth landing simply because you're dealing with those heavy old radial engines and a very, very heavy airplane. So if it's windy, those airplanes are a little interesting to handle. But anyway, let's look down here real quick. Simply go over everything that we need to. We're just going to leave the engine mode select, which is in continuous ignition. Just leave the auto feather. That doesn't do anything really. And that should be just fine. Now let's just go through the after takeoff again. Auto feather off. Okay. Hopefully that's not an issue. I don't know why it is, but there are other turboprops that auto feather. You leave auto feather on the entire flight. Alright, let's see what works down here, what doesn't work down here. Multifunction. Oh, I see it. Sorry. Yeah, these systems here don't work. The keyboard works for inputting. Frequency swap doesn't work either. Okay. Well, let's while we're flying, let's since we have somebody in the right seat, let's check out the cabin. It's a little bumpy, as you can see. We've got the seatbelt sign on. Is that right? Yeah, we still do. Seatbelt sign is it's going to remain on for the duration of the flight. Without question. But let's take a look. Just in case I have to relieve myself, if you know what I mean. Too many tacos at lunch. I should say dinner. Let's see here. Yeah, let's see what it looks like outside the passenger window here. Well, I guess if you have any bit of air sickness or seasickness, you would want to be doing something about that, to say the least. Let's look out the main boarding door, the window here. Yeah, it's visually it's a beautiful evening to fly. With regard to being bumpy, not so nice, is it? Can never remember if this opens up or not. One would think that this would be a laboratory, but I assume it's just the, yeah, alright, there you go, please off. Electronic devices, seatbelt sign is on, and butter, but it has an audio jack and 3 USB ports. That's nice to have. There we go. Somebody wants to eat something or get some work done on the laptop, they can do that. While looking at some really, really amazing scenery. Where's the captain? Oh, that's right, I'm right here. Just kidding. See, these lights work? They do not. I know in the citation launch, passenger lighting and all of that, it does work. But, let's just look around here. Seat position and all that works. It's locked. This is another exit. It's a, if you're landing and you're taxiing to a dock, this is the door that you would use to get out. Because the main door in the back, well, the bottom portion of that door in the back there would be under the water line just a little bit. But everything else looks good. It's very, very nice interior. The armrest down, I guess. Anything else we want to look at? There's the leading edge of the stabilization. That's what I call it. Stabilization portion of the aircraft. All right, back in the office and back to work. Let's look outside again. Now we're going to be flying over more land. As you can see, there's quite a bit of water we flew over back there. Looking good. Let's see, how much more do we got to go? 108? That's not bad. It's not bad at all. Let's, I don't think the weather is going to change, though the weather info is going to change on us, so let's just go ahead and set the altimeter. 3008, okay, it's only one click. 3008. And 3008 up here as well on the backup. Make sure that it shows 3008 on the FO side, which it does. And we can close that. Altitude speed. The only thing I can think of as to what happened is that the fuel pumps didn't kick in when they needed to. That's the only thing I can guess as to why we had a momentary failure of both engines. But the airplane flew very, very nicely for an aircraft whereby I'm the only person flying it, and I'm also trying to troubleshoot the issue. It didn't give me any issues. It it worked very, very well. No doubt about it. Let's see if we can get a little bit of light around here. And get a little bit of light up here on the dash. Enough for the displays. That's the last thing when it's getting dark out. The last thing you want to do is to increase the brightness on the displays. In fact, you want to do just the opposite to give you maximum visibility out the window. Alright, just kind of sit back and take it in. We'll be running the approach checklist into Prince Rupert. Double check I got that name right one more time. Prince Rupert, right? Prince Rupert. Yeah. Took me a while, but I got it. Prince Rupert. Let's look into the airplane here while we fly here. Let's talk about it just a little bit. Let's see here if I can get you some information on it. Let's see here. What I'm just trying to find is the basic info here. Alright, crew of 1, so technically that FO that you see here to my right doesn't need to be there, but has a maximum capacity of 12 passengers. With this VIP configuration, that would not be possible. But the overall wingspan is 58 feet, which is a testament as to why it works so well the way that it does. Especially in getting off the water. Wing area, 329 square feet. Empty weight of it is, well, let's just go with maximum takeoff weight is 10,141 pounds. That's pretty good. That's very good. Fuel capacity 3,056, and the power plant here is the big one. And they picked a couple of good ones. Both engines, the PT6. I do believe the PT6 might be the most produced engine in history. I might be wrong on that, but I want to say yes. It's the each engine delivers 650 shaft horsepower, which is that is a very, very stout engine right there. And each engine has a 4-blade prop, 7 feet 10 inches. So that's both. That's a good size prop, 7 feet 10 inches. Cruising speed 210. Well, 180 knots, which translates to 210 miles per hour. Stall speed is 65 knots with flaps of 40, which I do believe they simulate that here fairly accurately. Service ceiling, as I said, 14,800 feet. So, yeah, that's it's a very, very good, those are very good performance numbers for for an amphib. Let's look up and check on a couple things here. That's the only way you can see the prop when you're in the flight deck. Let me see if I can get the other view to look at it even better. No, that's about it. So that is the propeller, well, the edge of it on engine number 1. Alright. Zoom in just a little bit. And make our map a little bigger. Now that we're getting close, 81 nautical miles out. And let's see, let me just see what things look like on FlightAware. Let's just take a look. The map and whatnot might be a little sparse, but at least they give me a Google Earth look at it. All right, according to Google Earth, do we have a way to land in the water and make it to the airport? Sorry, I don't know how to share this photograph with you, but you can pull it up. Just go to flightaware.com, type in Charlie Yankee Papa Romeo CYPR, and you can be looking at the exact same photograph that I am. All you gotta do after you go to CYPR, then click on Map and Diagram, and you'll be able to look at the Google Map satellite photograph here. I do not see a way. Wait just a second before I put my foot in my mouth here. I do not see a way to get from the water to the runway. That's unfortunate. When I asked Windows Copilot, they said that it had an actual harbor to land at, and I could taxi onto a boat ramp and go right into the airport. So AI is nowhere near being always right, that's for sure. So if you're looking forward to a water landing, my apologies on that. Let's see if I can zoom in a little more. Runway 31. So it's a 3113 runway configuration. And with the winds being out of 280 to 300, we might as well select runway 31. Alright, well, like I said, that is very, very unfortunate. I wish it wasn't that way. Alright, runway 31 it is. Departure arrival. 31. Let me double check the weather just real quick here. Did it update at all? I don't have any info with regard to weather from FlightAware. Let me do that one more time. Let me look at a different source. CY Papa Romeo. See what the weather is showing on here. Winds are 2909. Yeah, we got a runway 31. And we'll do the RNAV just in case. I'll do vectors in because I don't know what the see if I have charts. No charts selected. And destination. Approach. No charts selected. What? Yeah, I want to look at the. Well, I'm gonna guess it doesn't have any. That is my guess. This says no airport, basically no charts selected. Well, that is selected. Nope, that's not gonna help us out there. Alright, back to map then. Well, that's unfortunate. We'll turn on the vertical situation display, the VSD. Just look at the weather radar real quick, even though I know there isn't anything there. And there's a little bit of precip to the north, but nothing significant. All weather off. So, I was just looking at something there. Yeah, we'll just do vectors. I mean, I took a look at what Google Maps gives me with regard to what it looks like. We'll just do that. Vectors. And we need to go into Merc. That's fine with me. Activate vectors to Vernon. And then let's go direct to activate that. And put nav back on. And now we're flying direct to Vernon, and we need to be there at 3,000. The nice thing about doing that is this. Look at this right here as I zoom in a little bit. Right above that annoying message that says compare fuel quantity, because there's nothing. Our fuel quantity is just fine. We see where it says, let me zoom in here. For those of you watching on a mobile device here, that is as far in as it'll zoom. My apologies. Won't go in any more than that. Alright, if you look on the line there, on our flight path, I should say, it says XTOD, that is our top descent. So that gives me a very, very good spot to begin to descend, because usually if I don't have that point of reference, I would slow down sooner and then begin the descent and waste a lot of fuel. With this case, I know when to descend, I know where to descend, and it's a great help for me. Yeah, I do need to send these landing VSPs over to the PFD. There we go, done. RNA minima, yeah, I'll have VNAV, that's fine. but we know we're going to be landing on the runway 31, shooting the RNAV 31 approach. Need to compute anything. Takeoff is, yeah. Destination, what did it say about the weather again? 10. Okay. Got it. And, okay. It wants us to cold, well, cold, hot, either way, it's, well, fine, do it that way. Or not, let's just get out of that. It's just gonna do something else, because all it should be doing is computing things for us here. Flight summary, we're not there yet, so, bad flight plan. Not that. Okay, that's where we are. And where did my descent? There it is, right there. Okay. Yeah, the fuel quantity, and yeah, by the way, the VSD on the bottom, it syncs with what you're looking at. On the satellite top-down view, it automatically syncs your VSD to that. Using it in a environment where you have mountainous terrain is a very, very good idea. Once PMDG, once they crank out the 737s for 2024, I'll get one, and it has a wonderful VSD as well. And you can fly into some very, very interesting airports in Latin America, and that comes in very, very handy. Especially if you're flying into an airport like Olayada Airport in Medellin. Alright, what kind of weather do we have visually here? Now we got our approach all set up and figured out. Beautiful view. Nope, we don't want to open that. No, that would not be good. Looking very good. And now we're back into the actual channel of the coastal inner waterway. And with regard to you being patrons, we sincerely appreciate your support. What we try to do is we try to do videos that nobody else is doing, and I believe, and I have a wonderful assistant that does that for me, and does a very, very good job at looking at, alright, what hasn't been on YouTube in a very long time, or if ever. And for some reason, most people do not do videos on the amphibious aircraft in 2024. I don't know why. I love them. I can sit on the beach there. Well, it's not really a beach. It's some picnic tables on Lake Hood. And I can just sit there forever watching one float plane after another take off or land. It's just a very, very unique and/or amphibious aircraft like the Grumman Goose. You'll see a goose go in and out of the lake every once in a while. Primarily, you have your basic, your Cessna 182s and 206s and Beavers and those kind of aircraft. Never saw a Dornier Seastar in Anchorage or at Lake Hood. Can't say I ever did. Alright. going to be activating VNAV here in just a little bit. We need to be 3,000 feet of earnings, so let's dial that down to 3,000. VNAV is coming on. And we have that, it's basically armed, if you will. Almost there. It should be beginning to drop, just like a glide slope in a way. There it is, right there. And it should begin to descend once it captures it, right there. There you go. Now what you want to do is you want to be ready, because obviously the airplane is going to want to speed up, so let's bring that power back, because we don't want to overspeed the airframe. And if you do it right, you need to bring the throttles, bring them back, but then also bring the props back as well. I need to do a video on YouTube on the free channel on explaining a constant speed prop. That gets a lot of people in trouble. They wonder why they can't slow down, even though they bring the engine power back. They wonder why certain things aren't working like it should. And that's usually because when they're flying in a prop, it just doesn't have to be a turboprop, but burning jet fuel. But a lot of people need to understand the constant speed prop and what that really means with regard to how the engine functions and how the prop itself functions. Alright, after earning, we need to get down to 1,440 feet. Let's go ahead and do that. So what I'm going to do is, all you need to do is, whoa. Why did it do that? Huh. Why that came off? Jeez. Alright, let's chase it. Let's chase it. Huh. Let's go down to, all of a sudden it's decided that it wants to work for you. Interesting. Yeah, it's leveling off, which is not what it's supposed to do. It's supposed to be going down at 1,440. 1,440. Alright, it's vertical speed. VNAV is off. Just give us a nose down, please. We're way above the glide here. Yeah, something really happened. I don't know why it just hopped off of that, because we need to be descending faster than this, to be honest. Let's get down even farther. Hmm. Don't know why it did that. It's a couple bugs that they need to work out. Why the engines quit midair, and why both engines, and why VNAV all of a sudden just turned right off. And why the altimeter on the autopilot says 1,348. It's supposed to do it in increments of 100 feet, not random increments. Alright, here's our VNAV right there, the VNAV needle that is. Let's see if it does a good job. Right on the VNAV path. It's going to go up a little bit and right back down again. There we go. That is what it's supposed to do. And let's bring it back to 150 on the speed if we can. Alright, it doesn't like that. I won't bring it back any more than that. The reason the warning comes up is because I don't have the landing gear down. And if this is working, meaning this right here, if all of this is true, we should be looking right down the nose, and the nose should be looking right down the runway. Runway 31. We're definitely on a proper heading for a runway 31. That's very, very obvious. Let's set our minimums. I don't have the map, the chart for it. Let's set the chart. Let's set the barrel 350 feet above sea level, because this airport is going to basically be at sea level, so that's a pretty safe assumption. When an airport is basically at sea level, and there's no landmass or anything that would throw off your radio altimeter or radar altimeter, your barometric minimum versus your radar and or radio minimum decision height, it's going to be the same. Alright, VNAV is still doing its job, and we are getting close. How close are we to the runway? We are about 10 miles. No, a little less than that. 8. Alright. I think I see it, and then again I think I don't. Now this is an R nav, so it should take us right into it. So let's go ahead and slow it up. Let's bring it way back. Let's bring the engines. Yeah, the warning. I know landing gear isn't down. I fully get it. We're gonna put our torque. To go through the approach checklist. Really certain that we did. Oh, we didn't do it. Landing lights. Oh, you know what? We got just enough time to go through landing lights. It's not avionics or set approach. Yep, altimeters are good. All feather is armed. Flaps to 20. They will be in just a moment. Landing gear, we nose wheel. Yep. Condition levers idle, which they are. Prop levers max RPM. Yep, the only thing to come is flaps and gear. And I'm not seeing an airport. I think I can see the velocity lights, but nothing more, nothing less. And after that, we need to come down to 131 feet. I could get to 130, but again, I don't know why they decided to do that. Alright, let's do flaps. Flaps 1. There we go. what's not on the checklist, and it should be, especially since we're landing on the ground. We're not getting, our initial separator should be on. We do not need any foreign object debris flying into the engine inlets. That's a bad thing. Okay, landing gear down. And of course the parking brake automatically turns on. They have got to fix that. Okay, parking brake is off. They have got to fix that. Alright. Alright, I can see the runway approach lights now, that is. Okay, flaps 20. 30, please, thank you. Alright. Turn off the autopilot and the yaw damper. Alright, I have my airplane now. And now, that's not me, that's the turbulence. We need to come in nice and straight and level here. Proper descent rate. Just a little high, Nice looking runway, no doubt about it. Yeah, we will forego the, there's a crosswind they're talking about. We'll forego the aforementioned orbit to see if we could drive the airplane onto a boat ramp after landing on the water, but I said according to Google Earth, that does not exist. On the next video that we're going to do, I'll taxi around and see if we can find one, a boat ramp that is. Boy, that crosswind is stiff. Once we get below the tree line, I wonder, because the windsock looks fairly dead, not too much air moving down there. Usually, once you get below the tree line, it's a very different subject. Yeah, it's already acting differently. So I don't have to grab angles so much. There we go. And yeah, the airplane doesn't enjoy slowing down. So we're going to ride the ground effect as long as we can here. Here we go, right about there, that'll do it. There we go, just let the rolling, I'll do a little bit of reverse thrust. Okay, welcome. Welcome to Prince Rupert. And this is exactly what Google Earth looked like. The ramp at the end of the runway with the FPO. Flaps up. Oh, flaps are already up. How in the world did that happen? No wonder the airplane was acting a little bizarre there at the very end. Flaps went up. I would love to know how that happened. If anyone knows how that would have happened, I would love to hear from you. I would love to hear from you on that one. Turn off the inertial separators. We don't need them because we're not taxiing too far. Yeah, it's a little annoying. You always have to tap the brakes to get the brakes to unlock themselves. Oh, beautiful beach 18 over there. Part at the ramp. Alright, let's turn off the landing lights. Alright. Again, the brakes on this thing, I don't know why it acts that way. Alright. Where to park? Let's park over here. Obviously, the main ramp is way too busy. Let's just park it right over here. That much concrete going up into the hangar. I don't think that's going to work too good, do you? Don't think so. Here we go. That windsock looks a little different than the one located near the threshold of the runway, doesn't it? A little different. Okay, parking brake is on. Let's go through the shutdown checklist here. After landing, check. Landing strobes, those are off. Taxi lights, so condition level low. Auto feather, off. Off. Put the engine, most electrics to run. Flaps are up. How they went up, I have no idea. They magically went up. Trims are all set to 0. Okay, we'll leave the stat where it is. That's fine. Checklist is complete. Shutdown. Parking brake is on. Taxi lights. Let's get the taxi lights off. I mean, it's technically turning the aircraft off is not that easy, but with regard to engines, it's everything else that. Nose wheel high is off. Nose wheel steering high is off. Nose wheel steering is off. Hydraulic pump. Oh, really? Off? Okay. ECS blowers are off. Recirc comes off. Probes are coming off as well. ECS is coming off. Those bleeds are coming off as well. Yep. Left, right windshield heat. Those are off, right? Yeah. Okay. Prop heat is off. Inner separators are off. ECS is off already, as is engine bleed. Power levers. Prop feather, and off. And that'll shut the engines off really quickly. Power lever is set to feather. Every other turboprop on the planet as you leave those. So you can hop on any website. You can go to any website that has aircraft for sale. Pull up a King Air, for example, and it'll when the engines are in the off position, because that's when they show aircraft that are for sale. The engines are always off. Everything's turned off in those. Like if you hop on controller.com, CONTROLLER. Controller, hop on there and you'll see that the prop levers are always fully forward. Let's look at the pitch of the prop. Yep, they are properly feathered. I don't know why that's on the checklist. Condition levers are set to cut off. Engine mode, off and off. Fuel pumps, all off, alright? And the mains are off. The emergency lights, right up here. And certain seatbelts, off. There you go, our flight time real quick before we continue with the shutdown checklist. Flight time was only 1 hour and 19 minutes. Not bad for an amphibious aircraft. Not bad at all. Emergency lights off. Light switches, everything. Beacon, nav. Off. If I hear recording, yeah, that's off. Okay. Flight control safety pins on the outside. Those will be installed. And electrical battery switches, okay. Technically, there's more to do. It didn't mention that the generators need to be off. Emergency battery off, standby off. Let's do a quick flow, make sure everything else is indeed off, off, off. Hydraulic pump, auto off. And battery number 2, and 1. And everybody's off. There we go. Let's, yeah, either. Let's go and check out, let's go out the back door, the main boarding door. See if we can get out of the aircraft that way. Something tells me that it won't allow us to do it like it does with other aircraft. Well, here we are. Look at that beautiful, it's like a Beech-18 to me, but might be a Lockheed Electric. But anyway, here we are. Welcome to Prince Rupert, British Columbia, Canada. Hope you enjoyed it. I hope I gave you more information with regard to how to fly this aircraft. You saw both a dual engine failure, and you saw how I dealt with it. And hopefully you got something out of that, because that was the most important phase of the flight with regard to something going wrong with me not knowing that was going to happen. Believe me, I did not program that to happen, but I don't even know how to program failures into this thing yet, but that's where we are. And thank you again for your financial support. We really want to grow the channel and do something very, very special. And that is in our mission statement here on Patreon. So, that being said, have a wonderful week, and we'll do our next flight north very, very shortly. We will be going to Ketchikan, and which means we'll be leaving Canadian airspace and we'll be re-entering U.S. airspace. So as always, you guys get to pick what we fly. So with that being said, just remember, port, and I'll put this in the description below, but the next flight will be from Prince Rupert, British Columbia, which is Charlie, Yankee, Papa Romeo, to Ketchikan, Alaska, which is Papa Kilo, Tango, November. PKTN, Papa Kilo, Tango, November. Again, thank you very much for your support. It means a lot, because one of these days this channel will be it will be the place to go to for all things flying with regard to commercial and military flying, and then we'll eventually incorporate fishing into it. Already did some fishing and caught a beautiful brown trout on a very, very well-known fly rod on YouTube, because of a gentleman by the name of Kelly Gallup in Billings, Montana. But not Billings, I'm sorry, that's not where he is. But anyway, we will get into that as well. Thank you again for watching, and we will see all of you very, very soon. And you mean a lot to us at the channel. We appreciate it. Again, take care, fly safe, and your frequency change is approved.